This video may contain spoilers. You've been warned. You know that moment. You're nicely settled into your new favorite TV show and suddenly you just know you've seen a face somewhere before, but can't quite put your finger on it. Well, we're here to help you out, because there's a reason the cast of Yellowstone looks so familiar. And here's why. Prepare to be baffled. Let's get to it. Let's start with one you probably know, Kevin Costner. Let's start this video off with one you really should be familiar with. After all, he's one of the most revered and respected actors of Hollywood, and has been for a while. Kevin Costner has been successful on both sides of the camera for nearly 4 decades now, and you'll be hard-pressed to find someone who isn't familiar with his work. On Yellowstone, you'll probably know him as the hard-hearted, steely-eyed patriarch of the Dutton family, John Dutton, a role that has definitely breathed some fresh air into his very impressive career. You probably saw Costner before in one, if not several, of his more iconic movies, like Belle Durham, The Untouchables, Field of Dreams, and JFK. But Yellowstone certainly isn't the first time that Costner has put on cowboy boots. So if you're looking for more Western adventures that feature this legend, you'll also find him in classics like Wyatt Earp, Open Range, Silverado, and of course Dances with Wolves, the latter of which was his big breakout role. But just in case those movies are on the older side for you, then it's entirely possible that you recognize Costner from his work as Jonathan Kent in DCEU's Man of Steel. Next up, Kelly Reilly. Kelly Reilly is one of those actors who has been perpetually on the fringe of a big Hollywood breakout for a little while now, so we sincerely hope that she does truly look familiar to you, especially given how Reilly truly deserves better, and we hope that she has proven herself beyond a doubt with her role as the lone female Dutton sibling, Beth Dutton. Her portrayal of Beth on Yellowstone shows that Reilly definitely knows how to bring weight to a fascinatingly duplicitous character, so let's hope that more producers in Hollywood finally give her the roles she has always deserved. If you're having a little trouble remembering where you may have seen her face before, maybe True Detective rings a bell, because Reilly portrayed the Lady Macbeth-like wife of Vince Vaughn's fading tough guy crime lord in Season 2 of True Detective. Or maybe you know her from her role as Mary to Jude Law's Watson in the Sherlock Holmes franchise. If those don't ring any bells, then you must recognize her as the bitter Caroline Bingley in the 2006 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. And now, none other than Luke Grimes. This is one of those actors that you probably should be more familiar with than you are, because the man does not lack in talent, though he did have some bumps in the road of his career. On Yellowstone, Grimes portrays the Dutton Ranch foreman, devoted father, and ex-Navy SEAL Case. But in real life, Grimes is another one of those actors that is perpetually just about to break through in Hollywood. Forever a supporting character, never the leading role. But while he's been in the game for longer than you may think, he's still at a relatively early stage of his career. Grimes made his big screen debut back in 2006, appearing in Jonathan Levine's breakout horror flick All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. A few years later, he showed up for his small screen debut with a season-long run on ABC's family drama Brothers and Sisters. But most people will remember Grimes from his memorable stint on True Blood, where he had a 6-episode arc as the kind-hearted bloodsucker James Kent. Hold up, we've got a few more faces to unravel for you. Next, we'll take a look at the most devastating character of Yellowstone, someone who has had to beat some demons of his own, the least familiar face of all, and 2 supporting actors that make all the difference. Can you guess which Yellowstone characters we're talking about? Let's find out. Let's continue with Wes Bentley. Anyone who has seen 1999's American Beauty will need no more hints, as they will most certainly recognize Wes Bentley as the drug-dealing, plastic bag-adoring would-be filmmaker Ricky Fitz. But it's also entirely possible that you just missed out on that particular classic, and have somehow managed to avoid it through the past 2 decades, in which case Bentley is probably a bit of an enigma, a description that happens to suit the actor's alter ego on Yellowstone quite well. On Yellowstone, Bentley portrays one of the elder Dutton brothers, Jamie, who is currently serving as the family's personal attorney, and sometimes as the ranch hand. Jamie has often found himself in some tight places, as the Dutton siblings are wont to do, even walking on the edge of suicide in the wake of some of the more serious situations. Bentley has had to fight some personal demons as well, but has since gotten the upper hand. Maybe you recognize him from The Hunger Games, Welcome to Me, Interstellar, or Night of Cops. If all those failed, then his numerous turns on American Horror Story might do the trick. Next up, Cole Hauser. Of all the characters in Yellowstone, it has to be Rip Wheeler, the Duttons' adoptive family member portrayed by Cole Hauser, who truly has the most tragic backstory of all. Hauser has given Rip the perfect air of stoic intensity that befits the survivor of childhood abuse who killed his own father after the drunk bastard stole the lives of the youngster's mother and brother. And if you're wondering where you have seen the face that holds this raw talent before, it could be any of the dozen or so TV shows and movies that Hauser was a part of. For example, he was Benny in the 90s classic Dazed and Confused, Matt Damon's silent running buddy Billy in Good Will Hunting, the backstabbing lawman in the sci-fi classic Pitch Black, the villainous Carter Verone in Too Fast, Too Furious, bad boy Steve Curtis in ER, and Pinkerton Charlie Siringo in the short-lived Lifetime drama series The Lizzie Borden Chronicles. Following, Kelsey Asbill. Of all the main characters that currently grace the screen on Yellowstone, Kelsey Asbill is probably the one who is the least known of all. On Yellowstone, Asbill portrays Monica Dutton, side of Case Dutton, which puts her firmly in the middle of her ancestors and elders of the Broken Rock Indian Reservation and the Dutton Yellowstone Ranch, a place that doesn't exactly make her life easy. But while Asbill may be fairly unknown at the moment, it's entirely possible that her role on Yellowstone will serve as her definite breakout role. But this is far from her debut, as Asbill previously appeared in an 18-episode stint on One Tree Hill. A few years later, she could also be seen during a 13-episode run on Teen Wolf. Asbill was actually on Taylor Sheridan's radar long before casting her on Yellowstone, because she also portrayed Natalie in Sheridan's 2017 indie Wind River. And now, Danny Houston. The term character actor is a way of pointing out a particular acting career which sees supporting actors who best serve a story by disappearing into pretty much any role imaginable and turning it into a three-dimensional figure. In a way, it seems like the term was made for Danny Houston. On Yellowstone, you'll know him as the greedy land developer Dan Jenkins, but you'll also find him in 30 Days of Night, The Constant Gardener, Children of Men, The Proposition, Wonder Woman, Season 3 and 4 of American Horror Story, and the first 2 seasons of Succession. While not as the main character in any of these, none of them would be even remotely as good if not for the impressive and dedicated performances of actors like Danny Houston. And last but not least, Gil Birmingham. Yellowstone never runs dry on devious Politico, but few of them have been quite as shifty as the current chairman of the Confederated Tribes of Broken Rock and warden of the Broken Rock Reservation, Mr. Thomas Rainwater, who is portrayed by none other than Gil Birmingham. And if you're wondering where you've seen his face before, the options are too numerous to count. This man has been a busy bee in the past couple of decades. But to give you a direction, Birmingham made an appearance in a brief arc on the original run of Veronica Mars and is known for his turn as Billy Black on the Twilight Saga. Birmingham was also seen in an intense 4-episode arc on House of Cards, but it's highly likely you're remembering him from his performance of Jeff Bridges' second-in-command in Taylor Sheridan's Hell or High Water. If that doesn't ring a bell, you might just recognize him from his emotionally devastating performance of the grieving father in Sheridan's Wind River. Wherever you've seen him before, we're sure it left an impression, even if you don't quite remember the name. And that's all we have for now. See, there was a reason why those faces look so familiar after all. Did you see any of the movies or series mentioned before you started watching Yellowstone? Which actors were unknown to you before you started watching the series? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.